Hello, Eastern Ace. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Eastern Ace Conversations with Phil and Whit. We're back with another episode. It is May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we have a few things outlined that I'd like to share with you and get you started, just to kind of give you this the episode. For those that are new to Eastern Ace or checking this out later, during this year, there's been a launch of affinity groups. And so as you can see right now, there's a lot of robust affinity groups that you can get involved with. I'm involved with the Black affinity group, but there's other affinity groups that are doing things throughout the year. And so I'm really excited to see that come out and people are participating as it aligns with their various identities. So this is a great space to do that. And you can look on the website to learn more, the Eastern Ace website, to learn more about that. Conference time, I think, sorry, you might have missed the early bird, but we still got opportunities to register. We're going to be in sunny Philadelphia. I'm really excited for this because, Philly's up the road, as well as there's a lot of fun events planned. They released the conference schedule, and there's a lot of wonderful presentations scheduled. So please, now that the end of the academic year, you can breathe. Please join us in sunny Philadelphia for this amazing conference. Be a buddy. I don't know. I'm gonna put the link in there somewhere, but look on the website. It's on Facebook, not Facebook. It is on Facebook and LinkedIn. But I will say this: I'm charging all those that are pretty seasoned in Eastern Ace to consider signing up as an Eastern Ace buddy, conference buddy. I did it. I signed up again. Because, thinking about those new experiences, it's good to know if there's someone that you can connect with when you don't know anyone. All right. Think about, it's hard. Think about the time where you wish you could have had someone be, a on the spot mentor, as you say, or a buddy at a conference. So I encourage all our seasoned Eastern Ace members to consider signing up to be a buddy at the conference, to welcome our newer members to the conference experience, and make sure that they feel like they have a home in Eastern Ace. Thank you. Shout out to our sponsor, Indeed, our conference sponsor. We got a lot of opportunities. Just we want to say shout out to them for sponsoring. As you can see in the next slide, there is still available opportunities to sponsor the conference in an a la carte style, whether it's other ways. So think about that and really contribute to that. As I said, once again, I'm big on newcomer and mentorship. I believe the Eastern Ace Mentorship Committee is creating a meetup for our newcomers, and they call it It's Sunny. Or this is a new one too, ahead of time. So they're going to do a newcomers virtual meetup, and I think they're going to do one at the conference. But this is a great way virtually to jump in, meet people ahead of time, get that question, who's going to be there? Get that answered ahead of time, you know what I'm saying? So definitely do that. Professional exchanges. This one's not on here because it just came, but I think there's still slots available to go to the Eagles Stadium. So that might be an opportunity the day before the conference. I ain't going to trash the Eagles right now. I did that last time, but hey, I'm going to go. I might wear my Commander's gear. And then this is the last announcement before Whit comes on here, and we're going to introduce our guest, is that we do have a final show for this Eastern Ace season. The Eastern Ace Conversations with Phil and Whit will actually be doing a live show at the actual conference. It's about the importance of creating Black spaces in professional and personal growth. I think I got it backwards, but don't matter. It's going to be June 20th, and you see the date. We're going to be able to do a live show, but we're going to be able to stream it. So those that are not able to attend, we're going to still have the opportunity to make it hybrid. And so please mark your calendar for those that want to still watch it virtually. But we're going to have this great show, and we're really excited. But without further ado, I want to bring Whitney on, who's going to introduce our guest.
Hi, Phil.
Hello.
Hello.
I put you to the limit today. I was right onto the clock. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good, though. It's definitely all good. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? How y'all living today? Welcome to the show. I will say, I just have one correction. Today is the last day for the early bird registration. All right. So if y'all are still interested in registering and you wanted to wait till last minute, or your university is like, we don't got the funds. Oh, yes, we do. We do.
Surprise.
Um, get on there. Go get you a nice little registration, early bird fee, and we will see you in Philly. All right. Cool. Cool. So yeah, today's guest is none other Natalie. I was about to say Natalia. Natalie. Natalie is here to talk. Hey, girl.
Hey, friends.
It's been a day. It's been a day so far.
Yeah.
So
Push it to the limit.
TGIF.
yeah,
Sure it is.
but it's definitely been a day. But welcome. You are not Natalia. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I have that name stuck in my head for some reason. But how you doing?
Good. It's been a day, like you said, and we're talking about mental health today, so it's right in line. And
Exactly.
I'm excited to be here. Happy to see y'all.
So I got my question, and I'm gonna throw it in the chat too, because we're gonna talk about mental health. And you know me, I throw polls out there. I'm gonna put it in the chat, and then I'm gonna share. Let me see if I can share a screen, share a different screen. But I put it out there, and I said, how many of y'all actually take a mental health day? You know what I'm saying? And I put it. Let me see, share a screen, and let me do the tab. Where's my LinkedIn? And look, if you can see that, I said, how many people take a mental health day? I have a theory anecdotally later, and we won't do that today, but look at this. We got 70%. I'm like, no. And so I put that in the chat for those that want to check it out and participate in the poll. But I want to start the conversation with that is, do you actually take a mental health day? And one person said, what is a mental health day? Maybe we need to explain that.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me personally, this has been an area that's evolved over time. And certainly I'll call out the pandemic in particular, like post-pandemic. And I saw your thread as well. I think you posted on Facebook too. And so I saw some comments generating there as well from the crowd, which I was like, so timely for our conversation today. So thank you for putting that out there. But yeah, I think sometimes, even growing up as a kid, I remember it's like, maybe nothing was really, you just weren't feeling going to school. And like now looking back, I'm like, maybe that was a mental health day, but I wasn't sick, right? It was just like, oh, my head hurt and like stuff like that you could say that really, you were off. You weren't feeling it today kind of thing, which I think has now transpired for myself personally, like naming and identifying that, yes, this is a mental health day. I've reached my capacity. I've, reached my limit, my boundary, but it's certainly taking a journey to be able to get there, to name it as such. I think it's really important to treat mental health as just as important as our physical health. And so I personally, yes, have taken mental health days. I've felt super comfortable in the last 2 to 3 years saying I'm taking a mental health day. I'm not sure if before then it was as common or okay in the workplace to say that. I know in my most recent years too, the organizations I've been working with have given personal days, which those are no questions asked. You get 2 or 3 a year, and they're different than your sick time. They're different than your vacation time, and it's use it or lose it. It's literally called personal. So those I see as well as like, it's a me day. I can use mental health days to rest, to lay down, to go take some self-care. For me, that might look like getting a massage, going for a walk, going, doing something that fills my cup and brings me joy, restoration, relaxation.
I'm going to jump on that real quick, and then we need to answer a question. Did you I said no, because I don't know, maybe intersection, like I have this grind hustle mentality, if it's not a real sickness, then I can't take it off, and it's kind of like guilty, right? That's one, or shame. And then 2, did you actually tell it I can't just even say, I feel like I wouldn't even know how to say I'm taking a mental health day. I think I would just be like, I'm taking a day off. Did you actually label it and say mental health, or just say I'm taking a day off? No.
Yeah, for me, it took a while. I didn't at the beginning. I will say in the last year or two, I felt comfortable saying I'm taking a mental health day. And I will say, for me personally, I'm attributing that to also becoming a manager of people in my roles. So I've felt that setting an example of like, just because I'm your supervisor, I oversee folks, doesn't mean I don't hit my limit as well. And doesn't mean that I can hustle and grind all day, every day. Because I certainly find myself, like you said, some intersectionalities too, doing that in certain spaces and particularly around work. So that work ethic and that grind, and I have to prove myself. And if I take time off, it's like as if I don't care, or something's going on that's not going to be able to be sustained without me there. And I think when I started to oversee managing people, I felt a little differently about it, honestly. It felt like now I'm protecting not just my own mental health, I'm now protecting the mental health of my team. And in order to set an example, I remember working for folks who, I didn't see that modeled. And so it didn't feel as comfortable. And so by modeling it, like, I'm going to take time back today. Like, I worked these weekend events and we just had a big deadline, for example. I'm going to take time back. And I want folks to also take time back. And it's sort of modeling that. And it opens the door that it's okay to do so. And it invites them in to build that trust, and create also a culture of care.
Love it. As y'all are talking, I'm sitting here like, dang, I really don't take mental health days. Like, I did not participate in a poll. Don't shoot me, Phil. But I didn't participate in a poll because I try and stay away from LinkedIn a little bit sometimes. But I'm like, I don't take mental health days. And, we at Rutgers, we have the personal days as well. I think we get 2. And again, it's a use it or lose it type thing. It doesn't roll over or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to use it, but I'm not going to use it for mental health. I'm going to use it for like a doctor's appointment or something, even though you're not supposed to. But it's a personal day and I do what I need to do during that time. But I'm very guilty of just staying at work, saying I am sick and I know that I'm sick, but I'm going to go into the office feeling sick because work needs to get done, right? That sucks. That definitely sucks. But you were saying a lot of things and I'm like, dang, you just answered the question that I had, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, because you can take a deeper dive.
Yeah.
But clearly there is an issue around mental health. And yes, we've been paying more attention to it because of the pandemic, and it was all locked in pretty much. So we needed to pay attention to our own mental health. But there's still an issue with it now, right? So my question is, what are like some common misconceptions or stigmas surrounding mental health, especially in the workplace, right? And how can we, and I'm going to talk, how can we as
association?
Yes, as an association, but like, Natalie, you mentioned, pretty much being a manager of people, right? How can we in, leadership positions, or we in whatever position it is, address them and help others to just create that balance so that they don't feel that burnout that we all know and love.
Yeah. Buzzword, right? It's always associated with mental health, burnout and mental health. I attended a webinar I forget when it was, but I think it was through the Chronicle of Higher Education. And they spoke about exactly what you're mentioning, sort of how do we build this culture of care? There's certainly an institutional responsibility to set up that space and create that culture. But at the same time as well, I think there's that balance of individual responsibility, of awareness, of being comfortable, leaning into getting comfortable with saying no about your boundaries and things like that. And how do we get there and find that balance? And so I think for me, particularly, again, as I mentioned, I think as a manager, I have a responsibility to protect that team. I think it's certainly linked to reducing the stigma and opening up that door and opening that invitation as leaning towards finding a solution, allowing that to be a practice, a norm. And I experienced culture shock at my company right now in a positive way of, wow, this is enabled here. This is allowed. We work hard, but we all, or work appropriately. We like to say work appropriately and play appropriately as well, so that there does strike that balance. We have times a year where there's deadlines and it's expected that we're sort of on and online at overtime, and we're salaried employees. We don't get paid overtime, right? But exactly that, striking that balance as a manager, saying, hey, thanks for being on, overtime this one day, 3 times a year for our deadline. Take some time back this week. And we try to make it during an appropriate time. Like the week right after the deadline is such an appropriate time because the big work is done. And that's a perfect time to sort of like scatter the days off among the team. So not everyone's off on the same day, right? But sort of take back the time. Don't put it in the system kind of thing. It's like a gift of time back. And I find that now the team is like checking in on me too. Like, are you taking time too? So it's sort of that accountability piece that it is inviting to folks to hear, like, I'll work hard because I know that it'll come back kind of thing. But it'll be a reward that, isn't required, but it's a nice gesture. And I think that people respect the workplace and the culture. And it's one of the biggest reasons people like to work in that environment, because there is that balance of like, yep, there's times that are super stressful and feels like it's creating like, burnout. And no matter how, focused on the grind you are, how anything like that, it takes a toll on your physical and mental health. And so in order to sort of keep on keeping on while balancing health, sleep, taking care of yourself, checking in with yourself and your colleagues, I think that really helps move the needle towards that culture of care individually, departmentally, and ultimately, like, the goal is right on the macro level, institutionally wide. But sometimes it can only be controlled in the departmental team level. And if that's the case, then, that's more of an internal thing, which I think that still is really valuable for team members.
I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'll call myself the middle generation, right? The middle child generation. But you best believe if I told my parents about mental health days or taking off, they'd be like, put some Robitussin on it and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, tighten up. And so have you noticed, that this is also the time where more than one generation is working in the workplace, like unprecedented, that we have almost like 4 generations in the workplace because people are working longer. And so it is. And so you're a younger manager. Have you seen this conflict of, like you said, I'm supporting my team, my young people. Have you seen this conflict of having to like advocate, these 2 generational ties and viewpoints on well-being? Because I see it, but I want to hear your thoughts on seeing it yourself.
Yeah, there certainly is that intergenerational workplace right now among the generations. And it really varies. I think I look at my current team, for example, and there is, different generations among the team. But still we've gotten to a place that it's like, yep, I'll take the day. And sometimes it's like nudging them. Like, they're like, no, I have too much to do and things like that. And it's like, I see that your calendar has nothing yet on your calendar blocked. Go ahead and block it now so that it doesn't create this stressful environment of like, but I have a student meeting or it's in person, like the give and take. If I can forecast it for them, I try to do that as best I can, which is exactly what I did, for example, this week. I looked at people's calendars and I said, hey, it looks like you got nothing on your calendar right now, as of now, for Wednesday. Why don't you take the day, block it now? So be proactive about protecting your time. And across generations, that's really worked well because they kind of see like, wow, she was really intentional about not making me feel guilty about taking off. Like, there's nothing on my calendar right now. There might be deadlines, right? And like administrative work that needs to be get done and whatnot. But I think it was well in advance that people could plan accordingly. And it was also intentional that not everyone had the same day off. It was folks that were remote, 2 at a time kind of thing. So we didn't impact office coverage. We didn't impact anybody having to change or reschedule appointments with students, because we know that's also like, sometimes that feels like even more work when you take a day off, right? You're like, I have to reschedule all the meetings on my calendar right now. And getting to that, also takes a toll on ourselves. And I think for the most part, that's very unique to my workplace right now, I think. But I've seen certainly the differences of folks, it's tough. We're salaried employees and we, deserve compensation for the work that we do. But as we all know, there's always homework after the workday, and there's emails that don't get answered during the workday. If you have a day full of meetings, you haven't answered emails. And then you get emails and homework from the meetings you attended all day, right? So it feels like it's hovering over you and looming over you as like, well, when am I supposed to get this all done? And so, of course, we find ourselves working after hours or waking up early to get those items addressed and whatnot. But for me personally, and I think for my team, we try to make sure we keep that in mind. We recognize that we're all doing that so that when the time comes of like, I know you were up, late working on this deadline, this is the time that you're getting back, that you're getting built in. So I think that's really what's valued across all generations, being intentional about like, why am I deserving of this time off, and explaining it to them with intentionality is what makes it receptive, I think.
Great. So we're talking a lot about positives, right? Like, you will tell your staff, hey, chill out. Productivity is going to be low if you don't go take this break real quick, right? But we know that not all managers are like that. Not all supervisors, leadership. Some people are like, mental health, what?
Yeah.
What is that? And I know, like, from my own experience, not in my current role, of course, but from my own experience, you may have, or I have had managers that they don't care, like it's like I'm not the type of person to speak up, right? I just don't speak up when it comes down to certain things, because I am a workaholic. It's just in my blood. That's how I was raised. Even when I'm sick now, I will hear people tell me, like in the family, like, oh no, you can't take that time off because you got bills to pay, you got a child to take care of, trying to pay for school and all this other crap, right? All right, cool. So what advice would you give to employees that have those managers that we're not we not like that, right? What would you tell them, or how would you tell them to advocate for their mental health needs in the workplace? And it doesn't only have to be like, oh yeah, ask for time off, because there's more that you can do, right? So how would you do that?
That's a really great question, because I myself too have been in that position as well. And it is tough. You can't see the light, right? You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Those days are already long and hard, and they're just glooming over you as well. Like, when is this going to get better? I hope it's going to get better. Are things going to change, culturally in the institution, in the department, like all of that. And sometimes too, we're at work, right? More than we are at home. And so then there's also this blur of like, the work comes home with you. It blurs into your personal to-dos. Everybody's got chores at home. Everybody's got a life at home. And you're finding yourself not doing those, not attending to those, not getting sleep, not eating at appropriate hours and things like that fuel your body and your energy. So it has, long-term impacts beyond just I feel like I'm in this rut right now and I can't see a way out and I can't speak up either. what I would recommend that people do is really analyze what's on their plate. So develop, and I've had, even when I try to speak up in the past, it's like, or you're wearing many hats, right? You're doing 8 jobs because you're short staffed as well, or this or that. Make a list of what you're doing, because I am 1000% sure it is beyond what's in your job description. And so start there of like, what is on your plate right now, and sort of analyzing and documenting how much of your time it's taking up, and strategizing like what is on your plate, what committees are you involved in, like what is required, and what is like something you're doing for you and trying to advance your own career or personal and professional development, and then what did like someone tell you to do, kind of thing, that's like not necessarily required. So maybe separating them out into different buckets in that way as you're developing that list, and using that as a tool and the driver to start a conversation with someone. So like, because the requests are going to keep coming, right? And so when they do, then you're prepared to have this of like, this is what's on my plate right now. And I know it's really a difficult conversation, but I think it's really about how you intentionally position that conversation to be like, this is what's on my plate right now. I'm wondering if we can have a conversation about like, sure, this project sounds really exciting. It sounds like maybe it's coming from the top down, even like it's a priority. You can't say no to it. But in order for me to fit that in, can we talk about what I might take off my plate or give away or put on pause and revisit later, right? So one big thing that I think is important is sometimes it feels like everything needs to get done right now. And you're not getting like deadlines or project timelines associated with the request. So even asking for clarification on that so you can better plan out, like, I'll send something to review for my team. And it's like, if I don't send a deadline, they think it needs to be done right now. But I'm like, this doesn't need to be done until the fall. So if I'm like, all right, it doesn't need to be done until the fall, they feel more comfortable. Like I have the autonomy of where that can fit in based on what else is on my plate right now. So I think analyzing that, which ultimately is more work for ourselves, but I think it ends up rewarding ourselves as that employee to have those conversations of like, this is what's on my plate. So many times I think managers don't realize, or workplaces don't realize what we're doing because it's beyond the job description, right? And emails, like we were talking about before, those take so much time to craft and develop. And yeah, we live in this world of AI now, and you know, some may help or get assistance with that, but it's still time consuming and intentional to put things into writing and send them out. So that takes a lot of our time that isn't part of our job description, right?
I love it. And I think it's great. I mean, I think, was it numbers don't lie, right?
Yeah.
Data don't lie. So
yeah.
in a sense, you're using data to support like, hey, you want me to be productive? I'm not being productive based on this. And then you kind of advocate for yourself. Yeah. I would say maybe my last question then is, what do you do, or how do you protect your peace in the face of adversity, where even with data being proven that they're not creating psychologically safe work environments for you to advocate for yourself? I think that came up in one of our earlier episodes about psychological safety, which I understand integrates with mental health, right? Like, completely. It's critical, right? It's critical. So just any tips for those that like, and like I said, this is anecdotal. We're not saying we're all experts. Maybe these are just practices that you had. What do you do when you're in situations, you did the advocacy, you did the data, but this is still not a space for your psychological safety and well-being? Yeah.
I think that is a time to really think about your situation and figure out a plan. So figuring out, is it time to leave? Is it time to leave the department, the organization? Tap into your network. And I know I think about this for ourselves as well as our students and our colleagues, right? Like, so there needs to be more intentional efforts in checking in on that as well for first generation students, for example, people of color. They don't know the access to counseling services, for example. They've never been, like a first gen student has never been to college, right? No one in their family has been. So they don't know what they don't know is the slogan, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so leveraging that check-in, those types of things, I think is what's important for our students, our colleagues, and ourselves. And that's what I mean of like, maybe it's a time to check in with ourselves of like, is this the right space for me? And I think a learning experience ever since I was an intern, I would always tell my students this after someone told me this: an experience, good or bad, is an experience. It's what you take from it. That is really what the learning is. So if you've advocated, it got rejected. If you went through all of the steps and you're still like, I don't feel psychologically safe, I don't feel aligned, I think that's the time where it's important to take that step back inward and reflect on, what did I learn here? I don't have the same values. I don't feel psychologically safe. What types of questions am I going to ask in a next interview or to my contacts and mentors and colleagues to help secure the next thing? And knowing that that's going to take time, right? And it might take time to even figure out and move. But I think that's where it sort of gets to the point of, I see hope. I see a light of identifying what I do want to align with and what really is in store for me.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. I think that was the last question, right?
Yeah, that was good. I mean, we were running over, but that was great. I mean, there was lots of good gems there, and definitely, like I said, applicable. But yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining us today. Greatly appreciate you and all the insight that you provided. You reminded me that I need to take some time off. Got to use them 2 personal days.
Yeah.
But also, scheduling vacations in general and actually unplugging.
Yeah.
It's needed.
That, and if I could recommend a few things as well,
Please,
like
yes.
certain apps and things like that I think is relevant to the conversation. Folks could use this even while working as well, especially in a remote space, hybrid days and things like that. Definitely recommend taking a walk while you're at work. Take your one-on-ones on the go, a walking meeting, grab coffee, things like that. If you're home, if you have workout equipment, things like that, use that as well. There's certain apps like Calm, Headspace. Some employers even provide these. So definitely look into your benefits at what's available for you. And then I just learned in virtual calming rooms. Some cars now even have this. It's really cool. There's like raindrops and fireplace stations that like cars come with even. But I know Wentworth has a virtual calming room of like different types of sounds that are calming that you could just play in the background. And the one I just learned about in particular is 432Hz frequency. It's a specific type of harmonic pitch that reduces stress, promotes relaxation, and expands your consciousness. So there's certain even like instrumental songs that use that frequency that you can play in the background while you're working. So some hot tips.
Can you repeat that number again? That was really good.
432Hz. That's the specific frequency sound of the audio.
Excellent. That's very helpful. I think I put a few of those in the chat. Maybe I'll be able to put them in the show notes. But Natalie, this has been a great episode. Looking forward to seeing you at the conference. Looking forward,
likewise,
Whitney, to seeing you at the conference. Looking forward to seeing anyone that joined us virtually at the conference. Please check us out. The panel that we're doing, the workshops. Please stay attuned. Natalie and her team are doing a great job sharing everything on social media. So please be abreast to what's going on in Eastern EACE via social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagrams. I'll put the S on there. But thank you so much, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks so much.